Okay, in this segment, what we're going to look at is one of the more challenging topics that we have in BUSI 100, and that's Microsoft Access Database queries. Now, in a previous class, you probably have looked at queries and being able to extract data from database tables, looking at specific columns, specific tables, and so forth. What we're going to look at now is a more general way that we want to address how to build a query. And that's kind of the key point right up here, is that we want to look at these 4 basic questions. And then when in the BUSI 100 class, we're going to address the queries more from a business question perspective versus what actual data that we need to pull out of the tables. And I'll explain that in a second when we get into some examples. But first off, we need to address these questions. The first one, and when you work with Microsoft Access or any other kind of query tool, is we need to understand which table we're going to be pulling the data from, or which tables. That's really a key thing, is to understand the data model of any particular database, whether this is a simple Access database or a more complex system from, say, Oracle or Microsoft. Related to that is, how are the tables related and joined? And we'll talk about that in another segment. The initial examples here will be from a single table. Probably the key question to answer, though, is this third one. What output do we want to see? And this is in business terms. Do we want to come up with an average? Do we need what set of columns do we want to generate? Is there any kind of manipulation of the data that we need to have when we generate the output? That stuff, as a business analyst, you guys need to get real comfortable with. And then the last question is, how do we want to filter out the results? We don't want to look at rows and rows and rows of data when we run a query. We want to be able to look at the specific columns and a minimal set of rows that come back from the database. So let's take a look at some examples here. And the first database that we're going to explore is what's called the Super Bowl MDB, or Microsoft Access Database. And you'll find this, bring up Internet Explorer here, under the lecture slide area. So when you click from the SharePoint site for the class to the slides, you'll see all the lecture slides, and then down here the database week 4 samples. You launch that zip file, and then what you'll want to do is extract the files within that, and there's a Super Bowl database file that looks like this, basic Access database. And in this particular example, we